One of the downsides to YouTube I've found is that there's an overabundance of advice. You can have advice on any subject at any time, and you just want to do something, and because everyone is advising you from this shoulder, from behind your head, from in front of your head, from on top of your head, too much damn advice. I was just passing the cupboard right now, and a thought came into my head about some advice that I've had thrust into my person for the last few years. And I thought I'd just open the cupboard with no research and talk about it. And it is the Loudness Wars. If you Google the Loudness Wars, or YouTube the Loudness Wars, you will see and hear, inflicted upon your ears and eyes, a wealth of information. Most of it telling you that music is becoming too compressed over the years, that it's having the dynamics squeezed out of it. Now the dynamics, when they're talking about the dynamics, they're talking about the difference between the quietest sound that you can hear on the CD, on the ones and zeros, on the vinyl, whatever, and the loudest sound. And they're saying that in the past, if you look at waveforms of music, in the past you'll find that the quietest sound was down here, and the loudest sound was up here somewhere. And they'll show you that over the years, it's done this. And they say it's squeezed, it's had the dynamics squeezed out of it. Until the point, they say, where you get to the really squeezed albums like Death Magnetic by Metallica and Hot Fuzz by The Killers. Check what that one's called. Hot Fuss. I think it's called Hot Fuss. And it's been squeezed through the years until you get to the situation where you've got here, totally squeezed, Death Magnetic and Hot Fuss by The Killers. Yes, there are problems with music having the dynamics crushed out of it. It does become fatiguing on the ears. I remember when I bought Death Magnetic a few years ago, and there was something about it. Couldn't put my finger on it at the time, but there was something about it that was just not quite right. Especially on headphones, dynamically limited music can just wear you down a little bit. And so it's happened. Even music that was once dynamically varied has, over the years, been remastered and remastered and remastered. And you can see the waveforms becoming more brick wall-like, they call it. When you look at a waveform, if the top and bottom look very, very straight and solid like a brick wall, they say it's been brick wall limited. And these people will say you need it to be much more varied, much more like a hedgehog, more like a hedge than a brick wall. A hedge, a rickety old hedge, rather than a brand new, beautifully finished brick wall. And so, as a music maker, you get this advice and you try to incorporate it into the way you make your music, make your songs, the way you mix, the way you master. And that's problematic, because you know what? Advice is as numerous as the idiots who spout it. And I am very well aware that this is kind of an advice video. I would say this is an anti-advice video, all right? This is anti-advice. Consider it the relative that lives just one street away, but you never visit her. The anti-advice. You are being told that the Holy Grail is very dynamic music. Very dynamic music. Music where the quietest parts of the songs are down here and the loudest parts are up here. So you've got the ability to go. You've got the ability to go this quiet, like this. Sudden it will do this, and then down again like this. Then up, then down. Then down like this. Then up, then down. And they're telling you that just having it at the same volume all the way through becomes boring. The fact that you can hear it is something that seems to escape these people. I tend to listen to most of my music in the car, all right? There are albums that are practically unlistenable to in the car. For example, I've got one, the original cast recording of Phantom of the Opera, the Andrew Lloyd Webber play from the 80s, with Michael Crawford singing amazingly in the lead, Sarah Brightman. Put that on in the car, and you can't hear it half the time. It's so quiet, you can't hear it. So you turn the volume up so you can hear the quiet bits, and you get them up to the point now where you can just about hear them. Then the Phantom of the Opera blows your brains out. You either can't hear it over the rumble of the car, or it's so loud it gives you a surprise attack to your nervous system and you crash. That's what dynamics can do. You don't always want dynamics. Everyone is telling you that you need dynamics in your life when it comes to music. It's all about dynamics. It's all about this. Do you know what? There's nothing wrong with this. There's nothing wrong with this. It doesn't have to be that. It can be that. And a lot of the albums that get criticised, when you look at charts for the most dynamically crushed albums, a lot of those albums are the most popular and best-selling albums of all time. And then the advice will be, that's because the masses have been brainwashed into wanting brick wall limited music. They listen to it on the radio, they hear it by their favourite artists, everyone now wants it. There's an element of that, all right? I admit it. However, there's also the fact that sometimes crushing the dynamics of the music a little makes it sound better. Oh, sacrilege! There'll be people out there spinning right now. But sometimes it just makes it sound better. And sometimes those albums that people are telling you have been dynamically crushed, those songs, those pieces of music that are like this, allegedly, when you delve more into it, that's not the case at all. The dynamics are still there. It's just the overall volume level has been brought up. Just take advice, all advice, with a pinch of salt. Except for this advice, because this is anti-advice, right? Anti-advice is all right. The latest thing we're being told is that the Loudness Wars are over because Spotify, YouTube, whatever, automatically volume level whatever you feed into them. So we're told it doesn't matter anymore. You can produce music as quiet as you like, and you can plug it into Spotify, iTunes, YouTube, and they'll just bring the volume up and make it compete with everything else. And they're telling you that if you make a song too loud and put it into YouTube, it'll just crush it and make it sound awful. That's what we're being told. The new panacea. Do you know what? That isn't the case. If you put a really quiet song onto YouTube, funnily enough, it still sounds pretty quiet when you listen to it over the airwaves, over the ones and zeros. And if you put a really loud song onto YouTube, it still sounds really loud. That's volume leveling for you. I know this is the future and one day it may be great, but right now, I think we're being fed a load of old codswallop. What do you think, my mercenaries? What do you think? Did you have an opinion on that today? Or was it just me? Hey? Okay, Rome wasn't built in a day. Over and out.